Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in to the NetSuite podcast. I'm Megan O'Brien, co-host of the podcast. In this episode, we have Sarah Rynja, a system architect and project manager who just wrapped up a successful NetSuite implementation at Grace Loves Lace, a global boutique bridal brand specializing in luxurious, sustainably made gowns. We talk about the story behind Grace Loves Lace, its transition from e-commerce to having brick-and-mortar locations around the world, and how NetSuite helps the team maintain its international presence, while still providing a personalized experience for each and every bride. So stay tuned. You're going to want to say I do to NetSuite after this episode.
You're listening to the NetSuite podcast, where we discuss what's happening within NetSuite, why we're doing it, and where we're heading in the future. We'll dive into the details about the software and the people at NetSuite who are behind all the moving parts. We'll also feature customer growth stories, discussing the ups and downs of running a company and how one integrated system can help your business continue to scale.
Hi, Sarah. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, Megan. Thanks for having me.
How are you doing today?
I'm fantastic. It's a beautiful morning on the Gold Coast.
Good. And that's the Gold Coast of Australia?
Yeah, that's right.
That's amazing. I could be saying this too soon, but I think that you might be the first guest that we've had from Australia.
No, that's exciting. I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Megan.
Yeah, I'm excited. So, wow. We're getting worldwide, guys.
Yeah, we actually have, there's a lot of NetSuite customers, even on the Gold Coast Australia, but definitely throughout Australia. And we have a beautiful ecosystem down here.
Oh, man, I really want to go eventually. Maybe I can make it a work trip.
Definitely. Would love to have you.
Well, let's just go ahead and jump right in. Can you start by telling us a little bit about the Grace Loves Lace brand?
Yeah, absolutely. Grace Loves Lace is an Australian design, founded and manufacture business in the luxury bridal brand. We're a wedding dress brand that provides non-traditional alternative brides, and we've really disrupted the industry to fill that gap in a market of high quality and modern wedding gowns, but at an accessible price point.
Talk to me a little bit about the company's mission. Is there a purpose that's kind of core to your brand?
Absolutely. We're really core to our brand in authenticity, and that's promoted throughout our offices worldwide in our showroom staff, as well as here on the Gold Coast in head office and manufacturing. Our mission is to design and produce luxurious and ethical wedding gowns to make women feel confident and comfortable while keeping them, again, at that accessible price point.
My sister is actually getting married in the fall, so I kind of get the struggles of that. So, that's an amazing mission. Now, Grace Loves Lace was founded in 2010. Can you kind of give a brief history of the company and how it's grown into this well-known brand?
Well, it's funny you should say that about your sister, because our founder, Meg Zeems, she actually found that in her own hunt for her wedding dress. So she felt really disappointed with the whole bridal shopping experience. It just felt very uninspiring and stale to her, and she just believed a bride deserves better. Attached with that, with the Gold Coast vibe and the authenticity, the purpose of Grace Gowns is to just revolutionize how gowns are both designed and sold. So we really, really focus on our customer journey for our beautiful brides, a very personalized and emotional journey. Every step of the way holding their hand, and just want to introduce our brides to beautiful, luxurious, comfortable, ethical gowns. There is no zips, no boning or heavy materials in our gowns, so she can feel really confident and comfortable.
That's fantastic. And I'm sure anything to take a little stress off the bride on her wedding day is much appreciated.
Definitely. We definitely strive to do that.
So where does the company stand today? For instance, like how many employees, how many subsidiaries, what are you looking at?
We've actually grown since 2009 when we were founded. We've actually grown from exclusively an online brand to 26 showrooms worldwide across 4 continents. So we've got a showroom in London, in Toronto, 4 here in Australia, and 20 over in the States. We have across all of those head office and showrooms, we have over 230 staff. We have 5 subsidiaries, and we have 6 e-commerce sites that all feed into NetSuite.
That's fantastic. That's a huge amount of growth. Were there any key moments that propelled Grace Loves Lace into being the company that we see today?
Absolutely. It was quite interestingly enough in the time of COVID, which is when I was brought on almost 3 years ago. We've doubled in size, both in staffing, in alignment with the number of showrooms that we have. A key reason for our success has been really just committed to staying true to ourselves and staying on brand for who we are and our core Grace values. We're very fortunate to have continued that growth in COVID period, which, as we know, a lot of retail was doing the other way of a flip. And being 100% based in Queensland at the time, we were less affected by lockdowns and really continued to deliver gowns to our bride. Being a manufacturer in-house, we were able to keep up production fairly uninterrupted. The biggest difference, I really think, over the last few years, especially in alignment with the COVID movements in all the businesses in our bricks and mortar showroom growth, was that we opened 17 showrooms, as I mentioned, in that time, even while our whole team was based in Australia and actually couldn't cross borders. But we really monopolized the fact that some great leases came up in some key locations they'd been watching over the years. Whilst it was a risk, we were able to double down on that risk, and it's paid off in the long term. So incredible vision by our board.
So what specific business challenges was the company facing prior to engaging with NetSuite? This actually kind of segues perfectly into talking a little bit about your role within the company, why they brought you on, your capacity with them, all that.
So my role as a global systems manager and IT manager for the business. I was originally brought on as a brand new role, as a concept role by the CFO, Lucy Lessick, and her vision when she had just joined the company, she really saw NetSuite and was really in awe of the product, but knew it could do a lot more than what was adopted at the time. So when I started 3 years ago, it was quite in its infancy, and she could see that there was real value in getting return on the investment and using as many components of NetSuite out of the box as possible. So they tapped me on the shoulder, and as we say, the rest is history.
So what technology was the company using previously, and did Grace Loves Lace see it kind of holding them back?
Absolutely. So in my 10 plus years working with different clients in the NetSuite ecosystem, I've seen this over and over again, where the business is in such a state of growth that where the business started quite genuinely in the smaller programs such as Xero, using Excel to pull all of the data together and making things adapt, and Excel really being a key wonderful product. With business growth, you really need to step up into a platform such as NetSuite. And so stepping into NetSuite and ditching Xero and Excel and all of the other several little programs that start off in a smaller business can really ensure that there is seamless omnichannel data, right from taking the order through to manufacturing and dispatch. So that one of the biggest key drivers was really NetSuite's manufacturing capability and that omnichannel vision.
Were there things that they were wanting to do as a business prior to bringing you on that they just couldn't do with that kind of outdated technology?
Absolutely. So our biggest journey in the last 3 years since I've been there has really been able to visualize and map out systematically that end-to-end visualization and metadata pulled from the time even before sales. So from lead management and nurturing right through to dispatch and the financial transactions that come from that, using all of that data to drive things like product development. So how is marketing working? How is the sales? What gowns are brides interested in versus what they're taking home? How that's going through manufacturing, how many steps involved in each dress, which we can use using NetSuite's different whip and routings, manufacturing capabilities, and then driving that right through to costings in order to produce what gowns are selling best, what gowns should be selling best, what should we produce next, and really driving those KPIs through all of our departments.
Did Grace Loves Lace consider other solutions, or did they immediately say, Sarah, we know what we want. You're coming on to bring NetSuite to us?
Well, I wasn't there right at the start of their journey when they were looking at other systems. I know NetSuite in general is a standout. I seem to be brought into a lot of businesses at this growth period, and NetSuite always seems to be the standout choice when picked up. I think because it provides such dynamic capabilities, it also has such a great support system throughout the world, regardless where you're based. There's a lot of people who know what to do with NetSuite and how to drive it for each business. Its customization, its ability to be customized, the suite script ability to be able to integrate other things. If you're not using SCA, for example, and you're using, say, Shopify for e-commerce, very easily integrated. So it really just stands out on its own.
You segued perfectly into our next question. How are you using NetSuite today?
Well, how are you using NetSuite today? When I was brought on, we were very well versed in the financial and manufacturing whip and routings and demand planning modules. Since I've come on, in addition to those modules of having that beautiful end-to-end transition, the first thing I implemented was reimagining how we were nurturing our brides, nurturing our leads, and obtaining information about them. So really installing the CRM function that comes out of the box with NetSuite. How I could do that was really sit down with all of our stylists and understand the journey that they have with our brides and all of the information that they're gathering, and very genuinely to have that beautiful personal connection with them. And all I did was convert that into the CRM functions within NetSuite and creating custom fields to store all that information. So then we can use that to really understand, so everyone in the business can understand who our brides are, not just our stylists. And with that CRM function, we're able to create personalized follow-ups genuinely with our brides, as well as see all of the interactions cross-department with our brides, so we can make sure even in an after-sales environment with our customer experience team, they've really understood all of the journey and communication that our stylists have had with them at the time. In the instance where we may be looking at, say, some alterations, for example, our alterations and manufacturing team can also see all of those interactions through the CRM functions. And it's just a real core driver in our business to have that 360-degree view. We've lately just implemented Message Media SMS, which is an application built for NetSuite that's been long-withstanding, so we can increase that personalized and direct communication. And again, NetSuite gives us the ability to reduce the time where we're having interdepartmental conversations and really just all of that downtime, because it's all recorded within NetSuite. We can see that journey from start to finish. That's really important to us. I can't stress enough, since the day that I started, even before I started, I think, in the interview, customer journey, and really making sure each and individual bride is looked after in a personal level has been absolute paramount. And NetSuite absolutely allows us to do that.
Well, I mean, what a weight off the mind too, because you know, when you call a company and they kind of say, oh, that's not my department, so I have to transfer you to someone else. And I don't know about that, so I have to transfer you to someone else. So just having that insight right there, so you're not getting tossed around, I think that's huge.
Thank you. That's a really great insight. I'll actually feed that back. Because you're right, it's not fun being passed around departmentally when you're a customer of a whole business, and we really focus on being a whole business. And our people and culture department really make sure that happens as well, regardless of where we're located.
And one of the things you mentioned that I've kind of heard about talking to customers is this idea of talking to other teams to make sure that you're kind of highlighting the information that they want to see captured and almost personalizing it for all the departments instead of saying, I think this is what they need and, throwing the solution at them. I think that's a huge factor of success when it comes to systems like NetSuite.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm a big believer in user buy-in. So I spoke to it at SuiteWorld last year, about reducing the ego as a project manager. And I'm the go-to project manager in the business as well, which goes hand in hand with systems. And I make sure that I get the buy-in from everyone key person in each department to make sure that journey from end to end, which we're all involved in, right up to delivery of the dress, and even in the marketing department, beyond that, in that relationship management, it's really the only way to put in a full solution to make sure that every aspect of the customer delivery is covered, which again is absolutely key. And it's allowed us to not drop a gown, not once. And I must admit, when we're talking about the modules in NetSuite and how we're using them, one of the customizations that I've put in place is a custom record. And we use a custom record to record each and every gown that bride tried on, which sample size she tried on in store, how that particularly fit her, as well as any fit concerns that she's stressed, and the things that she really liked about the fit as well. And I can promise you, everyone in our business reads those when it comes to the gown that she actually chose. Every photo, which is securely stored, of that bride in that gown in that showroom is looked at by our manufacturing department to make sure the fit is just right. So using that data in that custom record also allows us to report on the ranking of the dresses, which feeds into our product development department. So we're definitely using all of this data captured from even gowns that were tried on and not purchased versus the purchased ones, and all of the fit concerns that our brides give us feedback on.
That is a process, and I love it. I mean, pretty much everyone listening to this podcast, we've all been to a clothing store where the fit is just weird and, one size fits, one size doesn't. It's just kind of a confusing experience sometimes. So hearing how a company like yours is so customer centric and taking all that feedback and using it, I think that's a huge testament to who you are as a company.
Thank you. And I will give everyone in the company some props. Everyone is extremely passionate about our brides and making sure she has her perfect dress in time for her perfect day.
How did 6 out of the top 7 best performing tech stocks gain visibility and control over financials, inventory, planning, and budgeting with NetSuite by Oracle? Answers at netsuite.com/code. netsuite.com/code.
One of the aspects that I think is very interesting about Grace Loves Lace, as well as its international presence that we talked about earlier. How does NetSuite OneWorld help ease the complexities of running an international business?
OneWorld is absolutely critical to managing a global business. It manages multiple subsidiaries and currencies concurrently. A huge outcome for this management is being able to see and report in real time on transactions in individual subsidiaries and on a consolidated level in their own currency, and making sure that the core-based currency is putting the data all on an even playing field. So what I mean by that is we can measure up how a gown is performing in, say, Australia versus London versus the US, all in the same currency if we want to make sure we've got that at that baseline data.
And it's not just keeping different parts of the world connected to each other. Sometimes the biggest communications gaps can be between departments. And you kind of touched on this earlier, but just to send it home, how does NetSuite keep everyone on the same page when it comes to areas like inventory management, manufacturing, sales, and customer support?
NetSuite, and again, I speak to all the experience I have in different NetSuite client businesses, seeing and utilizing the different functions within NetSuite across the globe. I must admit, Grace Loves Lace does it extremely well in utilizing dashboards, and save searches are absolutely key in our business. They can do so much and drive things such as online stock availability, for example. Yes, we have our e-commerce sites, which are, of course, always up to date, but we also have on our showroom dashboards, for example, Save Search, which shows our stock availability that is driven from our inventory department on the Gold Coast in Australia and in Australian time zone. And what I mean by that is our staff works their gazetted hours. They're not up late at night to cater for our US sales staff because of the tools that NetSuite provides us. So this online stock availability report, for example, will not only show the SKUs that are available, but the number of stock available. And if it's not available, there is a handwritten note on that Save Search, which is driven from the SKU records, from the item records, and managed by our inventory team to let our stylists in the US know while we're sleeping when that stock will become available. So they can really in real time educate our bride and saying, this dress is not available online right now for us to check out, but in 2 days we will have stock, 2 weeks, whatever that looks like. So that is a real key driver for us to manage communications between our inventory and our sales department in its most basic format. And then we've got other several tools such as that just help us keep aligned with those sorts of communications. And as I mentioned before, using the CRM functions is really key as well. And again, just posting back our customer experience department, also based in Australia, again, working gazetted hours, and they can because of these tools such as tasking in between staff, which is recorded on the customer record for information that they may need about that customer. So, for example, someone sitting in our Gold Coast office from customer experience would task our stylist over in Dallas, for example, and need to get more information, say, about a bride's fit. And they can do that in the US time zone and communicate back straight away via that task. So when our customer experience team comes in the next day, they've got that information on hand.
One thing that has been a persistent issue over the past few years is an unpredictable supply chain and kind of variable lead times. And telling a bride that her dress is going to be late isn't exactly an enviable position to be in. How does NetSuite help Grace Loves Lace keep its impressive fulfillment time and rate?
I think the first and most fundamental feature, touching on similar to the last question, Megan, was, again, cross-departmental communication is first key. And that also includes between our sales, customer experience, and our dispatch and production departments. They're all driven by Save Searches, which have been set up and added highlighting and added criteria to manage that. But on a bigger level in the supply chain, we do use a demand planning feature as well as WIP and routing. So we have an amazing procurement team who looks at all of the supply chain demands. And of course, through that COVID time, it was very interesting where we were getting some supply of materials cross-border. We would need to alter that and really look at the delivery date and production timeframes of each dress. Unlike other businesses, for example, if I'm selling shirts and hats, it's typically not centric on a particular special day, such as a wedding day. So it is critical. But on top of that, it takes months to produce a gown. So we need to really make sure and use the demand planning features critically to know that we have enough materials to then manufacture, and very grateful that we are a Queensland manufacturer throughout that COVID time, to make sure that we have enough material and time to then make your dress ahead of that special day, have it dispatched to you in time, to make sure that you have a comfortable experience. So I can't speak highly enough of the demand planning feature, as well as our in-house graphs and team to manage those throughout that period.
Well, demand planning strikes me as a very tough thing for the wedding industry, just because it's not only about materials and things like that. It's also just been very unpredictable the past couple of years in terms of the amount of weddings that happened. You had so many weddings canceled in 2020. Then there was a sharp uptick that was in 2021 and 2022. How does NetSuite help from that perspective of demand forecasting?
It definitely was an interesting time. I mean, who would have thought that a retail store in the wedding industry would have doubled in size throughout that COVID period, when we were seeing a lot of people cancel their weddings, obviously due to inability for loved ones to travel, and even for you to have the numbers at the wedding. But interestingly enough, we had a lot of uptake in the retail sector in sales, and yet last year we saw a trend where it was a year of the wedding, but not the wedding dress. And it was also the year of travel, and that's where a lot of people were having their spend and postponing their weddings even further. We're now seeing that really even out in the industry back to where we were in pre-COVID times. So we're excited for 2024, and we're able to then, I guess, peter out the ebbs and flows of that demand planning. NetSuite demand planning really allows us to make real-time changes in that demand and on each supplier purchase order, changing the expected delivery dates as and when needed, to then reassess and make sure we had all of those materials, as I mentioned earlier. So just its agility and real-time uptake on then the output of the reporting for us to assess on a daily and weekly basis of where we needed to be 6 months ahead, 9 months ahead, really saved us.
Grace Loves Lace has, like you said, grown significantly over the past several years. How does NetSuite help the company scale its operations and be efficient, all while staying committed to its values around ethics and sustainability, as well as supply chain transparency?
This is quite an interesting one, and I guess my answer to this, being in such a growth period, as I mentioned, where we literally doubled in size, sales and staff, is NetSuite helped by not making it difficult. It really didn't matter, as simple as that is, but really that's the answer. The processes were the processes, whether we were making and selling 10 dresses or 1,000 dresses or 10,000 dresses. It stuck with us with very few tweaks required. So during that time of growth, of exponential growth, I was actually busy doing other things, such as looking at our e-commerce platform and doing business system improvements rather than improving NetSuite to handle the scalability.
Do you think that the organization has become more data-driven as a result of NetSuite?
Oh, absolutely. And the data is easier to obtain with fewer leaks as well. When you have several different systems and you're trying to pull all of that data in, particularly if you don't have automated tools and you're going a little old school by exporting data from these systems, pulling it into Excel, you're really relying on a human to know their Excel formulas and not break it. You're also relying on someone to export these reports, and they're not going to be in real time because you're busy doing the steps. So having majority of your data, if not all your data, in one place in NetSuite and being able to grab it in real time reduces human error, data error and leakages, and gives you real-time updates.
And that's so key to running a business today. It's, we keep seeing in survey data that people want to become more data driven in their business, but don't quite know how to go about it. And it's just amazing what a system will get you when it does give that real time updates.
Well, the data doesn't lie. Whilst we very much focus on the feedback of our stylists who are one-to-one and having this professionally personal relationships with our brides. At the moment, if you build a system or adapt a system like we've done with NetSuite, for example, adding those custom records to record the data in those conversations with the bride in a way that you can use that data, such as meta fields, you can absolutely drive the business to based on that customer feedback, the direct customer feedback that you've recorded in a smart way to make business critical decisions, because otherwise you're really just making assumptions. One interesting key that we've found is knowing, because we heavily rely on booking system appointments, we can get the data on of course, how our socials are performing and our email marketing of what's then driving appointment booking, for example, and compare that to the dresses that they're walking out with versus what they were interested in based on our marketing strategy.
Wow. That is, I'm sorry, I'm like kind of amazed because I grew up watching like some of the wedding dress shows and they always come in thinking they want something different. And it's always kind of unexpected what they leave with. So seeing the data behind it and how that affects your strategy, I think that's just kind of awesome sign of progressing forward in sort of this future company.
Yeah, thank you. And it just makes us feel like we're really listening to the brides and not based on assumptions on actual data.
Well, speaking of the future, what does the future of Grace Love Lace look like? Is there any big goals or priorities?
There's absolutely priorities. My book is full, and our roadmap is very much full because we're always innovating with. Obviously, everybody's trying to keep up with the adoption of AI and where it can be used in their business. We are just replacing our appointment booking system to embed it into our website to ensure we have a beautiful customer journey right from the get-go. As I said, whilst we have a strong online presence and following, and our beautiful online sales team, which is 24/7, we also want to get you into one of our beautiful boutiques and have that full Grace experience and try on the top 5 dresses that are on your list. So really making sure that that's a beautiful journey. And again, the bonuses we can grab from that as far as that end-to-end data-driven journey, so we can make those business decisions, and also so we can interact better throughout and beyond the delivery of your dress as far as that email communications. And also looking at analytics warehouse and again pulling together more data from external sources such as digital marketing and there's booking platforms.
So NetSuite data analytics warehouse potentially on the horizon. Any other capabilities that you see in NetSuite that you haven't taken advantage of yet that you would like to?
Oh, Megan, I've got a big wish list of NetSuite modules. Absolutely. Everything from the newer AP automation that was announced at SuiteWorld last year. There's always ways. Everybody wants things thicker, faster, more efficient. And there's a few modules that I've got my own, such as Analytics Warehouse, and of course making the most out of the Suite Analytics as well.
Well, I want to end on this note. I think you're a particularly interesting person to have on the podcast because you are a global systems manager with a specialization in Oracle NetSuite. You've worked across companies, implementing it and bringing it to its full capacity. So, if you could leave our audience with one piece of advice when it comes to making the most out of their NetSuite investment, what would it be?
I'll try and sneak two in there. Rolled as one, because the areas I'm very passionate about, and this is particularly for any new NetSuite customers looking to come on. Do not try and fit your old system and business workflows into NetSuite. NetSuite does everything very thoroughly and throughout end-to-end workflows. Get to know the NetSuite way, and you'll have a lot less issues and just seamless data-driven information from start to finish of your journey and the modules that you're using with NetSuite. It also helps when you do that, you don't overcook NetSuite with unnecessary scripting and customizations. NetSuite does everything really, really well, and you should really just try not to fit a square peg into a round hole. That also helps with when you're trying to gain help from the suite answers and help menus and training your staff. It means you can really utilize all of that catalog that's available to you to keep learning the NetSuite instance and growing it.
What a fantastic piece of advice to end on. That's all the questions I had for you. Thank you so much for joining us, Sarah.
Thank you so much for having me, Megan.
That brings us to the end of another great episode. Sarah's such a great person to interview because she has both that customer-specific view as well as her knowledge from other companies and implementations. I especially loved hearing how Grace Loves Lace is using their NetSuite system to give each of their customers an exceptional shopping experience. Huge thanks to Sarah for joining us and sharing the story from Grace Loves Lace. And as always, a big thanks to our wonderful editing team at Lampstand and to all of you for tuning in. If you want more episodes just like this one, make sure you subscribe to our channel and give us a rating and review. Until next time.
You just listened to the NetSuite podcast. Be sure to tune in every week with more NetSuite developments, stories, and insights into the benefits of one integrated system to help you run your business.